I'm jealous, I'm overzealous. When I'm down, I get real down. When I'm high, I don't come down. I get angry, baby, believe me.
In a 2013 article entitled, "Deaf Americans Still Struggle to Find Acceptance," it states that there are 36 million Americans who have some sort of hearing. There were 316 million Americans in 2013, so that's 11% of Americans. Yet, less than half of that number, no sign. But despite all of this, according to 11 Reasons to Learn Sign Language by Matthew Hoyt, sign language is still the fourth most used language in America. Not enough Americans know sign language. Deaf people exist, and because of how abstract sign language is, it is easier to learn than other languages. Almost anyone can learn the vocabulary if they try hard enough. The problem is that people are not trying hard enough. Imagine a world without sound, without hearing the birds chirping, no listening to music, and always seeing people laugh, but never knowing the joke. This is how deaf people feel constantly. Although you might see this as a disability, many deaf people hate having this term used to describe them, as said in the article, "The Importance of Deaf Culture" by Debbie Clayson. Although shows like Switched at Birth, and YouTubers like Daily Sign, who teaches sign language through song, Sign Duo, who shows how hearing and deaf relationships work, and now DeMarco, a deaf model who is an activist for closed captioning, have tried to bring more awareness to ASL and the need for sign language to be taught mainstream, it still is not. Deaf people are often isolated from a lot of things due to the lack of closed captioning. Many networks and shows have been good with adding closed captions, but many still let them be auto-generated, causing problems for deaf and hard of hearing people. According to the article entitled, "The Importance of Deaf Culture," the majority of deaf children born to hearing parents get cochlear implants as soon as possible in order to aid in speech development. This same article states that 9 out of 10 deaf infants are born to hearing parents. Deaf people have been getting cochlear implants and hearing aids for years, but it is our turn to meet them halfway. Also, hearing aids usually cause an overwhelming amount of background noise for someone sat by a window, AC unit, or fluorescent lighting. And cochlear implants actually only help with certain types of deaf people, and even then the sound that is produced is mechanic. This was stated in 10 Challenges Deaf Students Face in the Classroom by Weber. People who are not deaf or hard of hearing have the privilege to not have to think about these kind of things every day, and the majority of them do not, and have not tried to make any effort to understand deaf culture as a whole. In Deaf Awareness Week, an article highlighting Deaf Awareness Week, it says that Deaf Awareness Week is the last week in September. In the same article, it says the reason for it existing is to celebrate the differences that deaf people have at events such as sign language concerts and booths at festivals. Okay, now this is an example of how sign language concerts look and people signing to music.
Oh yes, I said it, I said it, I said it 'cause I can. Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed.
So now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart
Oftentimes in schools and public places, some deaf people get uncomfortable when asked about their hearing. And to make it worse, most mainstream schools do not have the proper equipment to aid deaf students. This was said in 10 Challenges Deaf Students Face in the Classroom. This causes a gap in understanding. There was a study done by Gallaudet Research Institute that reveals that 17 to 18-year-old deaf students had the literacy rate of 8 to 9-year-old hearing students. This is just another struggle that deaf people have had to overcome. Something else that deaf people have had to overcome is job discrimination. In a Frederick Reese article, Deaf Americans Still Struggle to Find Acceptance, it highlights an episode of what would you do when a girl goes to try to find a job at a coffee shop but is denied due to her being deaf. In the comments of the video, Reese points out that one commenter says that things like this are unfair but still happen no matter what, and that we can't do anything about it. But the thing is, we can do something about it. Yeah, deaf people can get speech therapy or learn to lip read, but why is it their responsibility to have to deal with this alone? They did not choose the situation that they are in. In the same article, C.J. Jones, a deaf American, says the only difference between he and other Americans is that he cannot hear. He can drive, make people laugh, and is knowledgeable. He is quoted saying, "Knowledge is the most powerful vehicle to success. Not hearing, not speaking." Some deaf people have interpreters, but that does not do as much as it should. There is always a high demand for interpreters and not enough people to fill the jobs. Because of this high demand, interpreters do not need a license, according to an article by the Canadian Hearing Society. Consequently, there are a lot of unqualified people in the field. Also, there are many types of sign, so it makes everything very complicated. This is a major problem that we are not doing enough to solve. Part of the reason why the job field is so empty is because a lot of people do not know it exists. Interpreters can make as much as $30 to $35 an hour. The article 11 Reasons Why You Should Learn ASL says that if a hearing person knows sign language, they are considered bilingual. The same article says that oftentimes parents teach ASL or other types of sign to their children to help them express their needs. Too many people do not know of these benefits or are ignorant to them. There are a lot of things we can do to solve these problems. For example, here are things you can do as a student to spread awareness. Create a commercial at school talking about ASL awareness and put it on your announcements. Or you could create a sign language club, meeting once a week and teaching sign to a group of people. The third thing you can do is 3 times a week have a new word put on the announcements for your peers to listen to. Or putting up posters around the school with a different word highlighted every week. Deaf people have gone too long without having people acknowledge them. When it comes down to it, there is no excuse that most people do not know how to say, "What is your name?" or "How are you?" in sign language. Check your privilege, be informed, and do something.